Matt, he vocals, guitar, keyboards. Dominic, well, I mean, he does keyboards. You all do keyboards as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, and the three of you make up most of the sounds you do. It's not about bringing in producers. You bring like a producer who takes more of a, like an old school producer stand, right? Just to check out the overall
more like the
sound.
engineering,
Yeah, exactly. So it's not about actually
I mean,
you're getting a ready-made hit song.
We've always pretty much, I mean, the first few albums we did everything ourselves really, and I think the only outside musicians we've used has been like for if we use orchestration, you know, or strings and stuff. But we've tried on the most recent album, Black Holes and Revelations. We tried to kind of learn about the electronic side a little bit, you know, introducing samples and some synthesizer music. And I think it's something that we felt that we'd have to do ourselves in order to make it sound like it comes, you know, from the band. And I think that we've learned a lot on the last album. I think hopefully we'll be always learning new things. I think whenever you're making an album, there should always be some element which is brand new to you, you know, that you have to learn.
Do you write songs when you're touring, or do you have to have a certain period where you can focus on songwriting?
I think you write songs whenever they come, you know. But I think that they tend to come more often when you take a break, you know, when you take a break from touring. And I think songwriting always comes when you are in a situation when you are alone, but it was not your choice to be alone. So say for example, like you miss a plane or something, you know, and you're stuck in the airport for 4 hours. I find myself writing songs very, very quickly, you know, or like your girlfriend, you have a fight with your girlfriend and she runs away and leaves you for like 2 days, and you're in the house alone, and it's not your choice, you know. Whenever you're alone, it's not your choice to be alone.
Especially Black Holes and Revelations, just the record art. It's the story of the four horsemen, or it's a picture of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
From the Book of Revelations. And then looking back at videos, let's say a Song for Absolution, there's the story about you flying over to Mars to see what sort of the same. Tell us about, because in your songwriting, you're all about the conspiracy theories. About.
Well, I think sometimes I use like analogies of space to describe big emotions. You know, I think some people get confused. I think there's some songs which do talk about, you know, some conspiracy stuff. Songs like maybe Take a Bow talks about the idea that we're kind of led by a group of people which have a secret agenda which is against what is good for the general public. You know, but in terms of space, when I sing about space and some of these references, I think it's to describe large emotions, big kind of passionate emotions. I think in the same way that, you know, in the 80s someone would sing, oh, I'm gonna cross the ocean to be with you, or I'm gonna climb the mountain, all this kind of thing. You know, I think for me, I'm using like space as a way to describe some larger emotions. You know.
How do you sort of keep on being influenced? You obviously read a lot. You're in, because I mean, conspiracy theories. There's a lot of people who publish books nowadays about them.
Yeah.
And it seems like, I mean, the general public as well, they get into it. I mean, looking at sort of 9/11 or how the U.S. administration, however it works, there's a lot of things ain't really black and white.
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting time, because I think the internet has managed to, lots of information which is not normally available is now becoming available. You know, I think a lot of people are realising that some of the sort of agendas behind our governments are not really in favour of the public. You know, and I think that this kind of distance between the what you're voting for and then the reality of what happens once you're voted is very far. You know, and I think that for young people, they are feeling. Well, me anyway, I feel a little bit powerless, you know, like there's nothing that you can really do, you know. So you kind of read and you explore and you try to learn about why we got ourselves into this position, you know. And you know, there's many different explanations, you know, many different conspiracy theorists who explain why things are the way they are, you know. But I think it's definitely time. I think if you look through all of it, I think I tend to feel that it's time for things to change in some way, you know. I think the way that we vote, for example, has to change. I think the internet should, you know, there's a chance for pure democracy now, you know, really, with the internet. I think it's, you know, in England it's so old-fashioned, you know, you have all these old men sat around into sort of this old bureaucracy style, which is like, dates back to something like the 17th century, and it's not changed at all. But I think with the internet, I think we can bypass this old-fashioned method of having, you know, members of parliament who represent you, and you know, because I don't think they represent us very well. You know, I think we can represent ourselves better. I think it's just a case of you know, trying to democratise the internet in some way.
You perform at the Live Aid, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And also with there was this case about Nestle. They wanted to use a song, your song, and you refused, and then you came back to it, and you used it was a lawsuit and the money went straight to the people.
Yeah. But we said no. But then they did it anyway, you know, because these companies, they're so big and so powerful, they think they can fight, you know. But we had a lawyer, and we tried to have a battle with them, and it took a long time, but in the end we won, you know, some money. But the money we gave it to charity because we were not really wanting the money. We just did it to prove the point, you know.
Exactly. And they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. But it's these big corporations, you know, you got to fight the power, man. Got to fight it.
Dom, it was in an interview, he spilled the beans. You're working on some new stuff. You're working on a more dance-influenced album.
Well, I mean, there's plenty. There's always new directions that we have, and it's very difficult to predict what's going to end up on the next album. I think, you know, there's some things that we've come up with that are kind of even more symphonic than what we've done before, more like working with a full orchestra as opposed to just strings. But there's also some electronic, more dancey things, maybe something like I don't know, like gold rap or something more kind of disco orientated, or the Bee Gees maybe, that kind of thing, but like a modern version, you know.
Yes.
But we've always been interested in trying to get this kind of, you know, I really like what Franz Ferdinand do in terms of getting really dancing grooves in with guitar music, you know. So I think we've been trying to gradually bring some of that stuff into our music. So but it's difficult to predict which if there's going to be, you know. I think our albums always have a mixture of new ideas on them. So I think the next album will probably have at least, you know, 3 or 4 things which are, you know, surprising to the fans that they would not have expected, and then probably, you know, 3 or 4 songs which are something traditional, you know. How
do you sort of work it? Do you have a concept? Do you have some kind of theory before you start it, or do you just go into the studio, demo something out, try something out, or how do you work
I think I suppose Absolution and Origin Symmetry were both quite conceptual based. I mean, a lot of the songs were themed and had something in common, but I think Black Holes and Revelations, the last album, is kind of more like just lots of different experiments, lots of different types of songs. I think maybe it's because of the iPod, the way that I listen to music now. I don't really listen to continuous albums so often, you know. I think I listen to lots of different songs, and I put together playlists, you know. And I think it's changed the way we create music a little bit. I think it's much more, we feel much more free to have completely different styles of music on one album, you know. So I think I'd only do like a continuous album again if there was a very particular theme or a very particular concept which works throughout the album. But otherwise, I think, you know, just a collection of really good songs is a good way to do an album.
Yeah, that's sort of the same way, the way like nobody really does. Album comes together if it comes together.
Yeah.
Also with you guys, you took an album and made it into more bigger experience. I'm talking about Hula Baloo.
Yeah.
With CD and the DVD and the whole sort of movie.
Yeah.
How do you see Muse as a band like that? Do you try to bring that up?
Well, I think really the live thing is where you get to experience the band at its purest form. You know, I think that you see both the visual performance and the musical performance, as well as all the kind of the video stuff we do. I think that live is always is the kind of priority to us, and I think that I think a lot of people who have got into the band have sometimes they've not really sure about the album, but when they come to see it live, they really start to understand what the band means, you know.
Definitely. Can't wait to see you guys live. They were giving me this sign.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much
Thanks
for making
it. Cheers. Pleasure.